Chains rattle broken, now we rise. Flag in my hand, stars burn the skies. Truth ain't dead, though the liars try. They scream loud, but the words all die. Guys watching hands, raise to the throne. Freedom ain't free, blood built this home. Continue freedom, keep it alive. Red, white, blue, we bleed to survive. Continue freedom, keep it alive. Land of the free, ain't bending the knee. Truth in my veins, it's all I see. Patriots roar, no fear in the fight. Continue freedom, stand in the light.
Okay, welcome back, guys, to another live stream. Here we are. Hit me up in the chat as you guys are coming online. I'd love to hear from you all. As you can see from the thumbnail, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about today, in particular about Candace Owens, but not just Candace Owens. We got to talk about some other folks on the right. I'm genuinely concerned about, and I've done several videos on this, and I hate the fact that, again, I keep saying I hate the fact that I have to bring it up, but this is what's going on our side of the political spectrum, on our side of the aisle, and here's what I want to talk about. So this was a post. I'm going to start off with this one. But this was a post from, and I hope I pulled up the right screen. Yep, I did. So the Hodge twins posted this, and they're part of this group of individuals. These are some of the ones that have been highlighted in this particular post that have become incredibly divisive forces on the right in the conservative movement. And the way they posted this is they said, now that's a damn good group of people right there. And this person, whoever this was, Wasson Watchco, I don't know who that is. I don't know who narrator is. But they said, if you platform and approve of this crew, you are lacking in judgment. And I feel it's worth going person by person very quickly about who these people are and why they have become these model citizens and model representatives on the right. And so Tucker, I've obviously done several videos on Tucker. We're going to talk about him tonight because he has now come out in one of his recent things talking about feudalism, one of his recent episodes supporting feudalism. He was playing apologist for Sharia law, which is obviously lunacy. MTG, who has been recently another disappointment, she's now saying that, no, we shouldn't be deporting all people. This is a person who stood up for Donald Trump and who was stumping for Donald Trump. I don't think Donald Trump, if I remember correctly, he didn't give her an endorsement. Maybe she's a little butthurt about that one. But she's now coming out saying, no, I'm not a slave to Donald Trump, as she put it. And maybe we shouldn't be, because I'm from the construction industry. Maybe we shouldn't be deporting all of these individuals, lottie-dottie, everybody. Then Candace Owens, who's the key focus for tonight, because she's the one amongst all these people, I believe, with the largest following and who's been getting the most traction. Then you've got Ian Carroll. Well, Ian Carroll is look, Ian Carroll he doesn't like Israel. Got it. You can have political opinions against Israel, but he is one of those that's all he does. It's 100% of his time is spent on that because it gets clicks, and that's why a lot of other people have. Now, this next guy down here, over here, I think you should be able to see my mouse. Maybe not. Yeah, there you go. This guy, he was a historian who came on Tucker Carlson's show. And what was his claim to fame? I did not know who this guy was. I'd never heard of this guy. Maybe he's famous and I just didn't know. So that's I can't know everybody. But he was a famous historian because he said that we got all the heroes and villains of World War II wrong. And maybe we should have flip-flopped things. And then you've got Owen Schroyer, who worked for Alex Jones at the bottom right. And some of these people, by the way, I don't have issues with in particular. But Owen Schroyer, he's latched on to the same Israel is the problem or the source of all America's problems, and then he stabbed Alex Jones in the back after Alex Jones let him go. Then you've got the Andrew Tate, who's a pornographer and a human trafficker, and he's, by the way, I'm going to highlight the fact that he's suing a small X account who's been getting a lot of traction because he played back some of the stuff he had said about how he got women to be trafficked. Then you've got Elijah Schaffer, so he's on board with the white people are better than other people sort of narrative, kind of toes that Nick Fuentes line, although with considerably less eloquence, I think. And then you've got Dan Bilzerian, who is a poker player. So he said he's a poker player. A lot of people assumed he was a trust fund baby, who became famous. The only reason anybody knows who this guy is because he was notorious for sleeping with loads and loads of women, doing tons and tons of drugs, having a heart attack at 35 from, a mixture of cocaine and I believe it was Viagra. And then all of a sudden he comes out and starts, pushing back against Israel. So now obviously he's got to be brought to the forefront of the conversation. Then you've got Dave Smith, who's a comedian, interesting, who just happens to not like Israel. But when I'm going to play a clip from him and Coleman Hughes in an interview they had, which was unbelievable. I should have brought up a clip just so you could see the headline for that one. But look up Coleman Hughes and the interview with him. It was 3 hours long, but it goes wildly in depth. And Coleman Hughes did an amazing job making his case. But anyway, Nick Fuentes, okay, I've talked about Nick Fuentes, white supremacist, obviously calls himself a Christian, yet when you listen to his feed, there's nothing Christian about the way he talks or presents himself, any of that. I don't know who this other guy is. Then, of course, you've got Matt Gaetz down at the bottom left. Matt Gaetz, I like Matt Gaetz. I do. He's got a problem with Israel and politics, and that's a perfectly legitimate argument. I haven't seen him go full bore into these other people, so I don't even think he should have been included in this group. Then you've got the Hodge twins. The Hodge twins have jumped on board this, two black guys with black fatigue, as they like to call it. But they've also fallen into this. If you use the filthy Jews sort of thing, then you'll get clicks, and that's the bandwagon that they've jumped aboard. And then I don't know who this other guy is wearing the headdress. And then at the bottom right, you've got Alex Jones. And I don't have an issue with Alex Jones. I think of all these people, the well-intentioned people are Alex Jones, even though he says some stuff that's wild. I do not agree with everything that he says. I do believe that his intentions are relatively pure. He's a truth speaker, and that's okay. I'm perfectly fine with that. Matt Gaetz, I think he's a political opportunist in a lot of ways. He's a politician when it's all said and done. But I think that he's got a problem with Israel and politics. Okay, fine. So I bring up this whole list to say that how many of these people, and this is what we're going to talk about tonight, how many of these people have changed their tune? Several of them have. How many of them have played the both ends of the political spectrum, have bounced back and forth and played blocker or not played blocker, but have contorted themselves to fit the most recent narrative and kind of ridden that algorithm? Well, several of them have. And Candace Owens is one of those. Now, do I think that Candace Owens believes the stuff that she says? Yes, I think she does. I think she firmly believes that the root of all America's problems, that the culprit in every major tragedy in America are the Jews. I think that's what it is. And Tracy made a comment, he is a Catholic. Yeah. So interestingly enough, no, this isn't a generality around Catholics, because I don't think that's the case. I know a ton of Catholics and they're beautiful, wonderful Christian people, and they're going to heaven, right? So don't get me wrong on that. But I think that there are people who get into when they, what's the way to put it? Well, let me just say this: of the people that are on this list, several of them do happen to be Catholic or have converted to Catholicism, and that's not to speak of Catholicism in general. But I haven't delved into the theology to figure out how people come to those conclusions that do happen to be Catholic people. And I know that Tristan Tate, Andrew Tate's brother, he's recently converted to, or not recently, I guess in the past year or two, has converted to Catholicism. That doesn't mean that he wasn't trafficking people along with his brother, which they apparently were, but they were at the very least running camera girls, these girls that they would run honeypot operations on, get their trust and their attention, and then get them to get naked and do things in front of cameras so that they could take the money from that to fill their own pockets. That's the type of person we're dealing with. You can convert and you can become a great person after doing something like that, sure. Absolutely. But that doesn't mean you no longer have to pay for your crimes. You do. And Andrew Tate is a Muslim. So you've got a Muslim and a Catholic living in the same house. They've been on house arrest for, I think, the past at least year, maybe 2 years while all this stuff was going on. So I say all this to say that there can be redemption for people like the Tate brothers, but Candace Owens is well known over and over again to be supporting them. She loves them. She thinks they're great. These are the people that have tried to pitch themselves as the new version of masculinity, right? That's kind of their shtick. Meanwhile, they run similar operations to any other degenerate trafficker that might be out there. So let's start with Candace. And somebody did this comparison. It was a great comparison. Hey, welcome aboard, Jennifer LaFontaine. Welcome. This is somebody that played a back-to-back. That was actually Nathan Livingstone. So go follow Nathan Livingstone. Let me show you. Let me pull up his account so you guys can see it. It is right here. You got to follow this guy. He does amazing mashups. He's on X. Go follow his account. Well worth the follow. Most definitely worth the follow. But he's being sued by the Tate brothers. I think I said that already, but he's being sued by the Tate brothers because he was replaying some of their videos, and because they are in a court case going on right now in Romania for their trafficking. I guess it looks bad. And so, yeah. Tracy, okay. You're kind of, I'm going to try not to get off track, Tracy, but you bring up an interesting point. And this is in the comments. So, by the way, I will get to all the comments. So as you guys are coming on board, be sure to leave comments below. I will most definitely get to as many of them as I possibly can. I try to keep this live stream to an hour, but I will absolutely go over for all of you folks that are down here. Hit me up in the comments. But Tracy said Jesuit Catholic, and that's interesting. I watched a documentary on Jesuits, and it was talking about some of the founding fathers, in particular John Hamilton, and some of his misgivings about the Jesuits because of their ability to wield power kind of behind the scenes and all that. It was very, very fascinating. It was very fascinating. But nonetheless, I'm not going to get off track on that one. Let's play this, Anna Kasparian and Candace Owens, and then we're going to talk about it.
To tell your
Don't
children.
be mistaken based on the propaganda you hear in American media. That's not representative of how the American people feel about you. You're
this
hated.
Is a Holocaust. A Holocaust.
And it's not because you're Jewish.
A real Holocaust just happened.
It's because you slaughter innocent
people.
people.
Never forget this.
It's because you think you're God's chosen people when you act like absolute demons.
Vermin.
You guys like to slaughter people and steal land, and you think you're better than everyone else. You think that you're entitled to everything, including our tax dollars. It's disgusting.
What's interesting about this is playing these two people side by side. I've talked about Anna Kasparian and how she's made some very interesting changes. She has tried to leave some of the lunacy of the left, but interestingly enough, it's always when you come back to Israel, this is where they align. But nonetheless, she is a lefty. She is a wildly left-leaning person. And Candace Owens used to be. She got on board the conservative movement, and she kind of hijacked it, I think, to get her millions of followings, because a black conservative was something that it looked very good in the in the media. It looked very good on social media. Everybody was amped up about it. And so she rode that wave all the way to now, where she's actually turning on the right. I'm going to play the video in a little while where she's turning even against Donald Trump, all stemming from her views on Israel. And they align with the left. This is the thing. Not saying that you can't have, it's an interesting line to toe, because I toe the same line. Should AIPAC be registered as a foreign entity? Maybe. That may be there's a very good case to be made for that. That they are lobbying in politics. Other people do. We saw the money that Qatar handed over to Tucker Carlson so that they could get an interview, because they're it wasn't the Emir, but it was I guess the PM or whatever he was in Qatar. They paid $180,000. I put up the FARA document a couple of live streams ago. I don't have it on this one. So we know that foreign governments are lobbying the U.S. We know the U.S. is lobbying with other foreign governments as well. Should they be registered? Fine. We can have that conversation. But nonetheless, this comes back to a simple hatred for Israel, and that is something that the left and this woke right, as people are calling it, but this new right, has in common. And when Candace, I guess, decided to take a little time off after she went after Josh Hammer, which we're going to talk about as well. Yeah, I know, Tracy, AIPAC is an American lobbyist group. So they are Americans, but they are lobbying for another country. And that's where the question mark comes in. So I get it. I think it's a reasonable question to ask. But nonetheless, Ian Carroll is one of the other ones that made the list of people that you should most certainly listen to, as people would say, as some of these folks would say. And he was one of the ones, like Candace, got on board. As soon as we bombed Iran to take out their nuclear facilities, they made these predictions. All of them were doing it. He was doing it, MTG was doing it, and 100% of them were wrong. I came on and I said, I don't like that we did it, but we will have to see how this turns out. They jumped to the conclusion that they did this because of Israel and that Israel was getting us into another land war. And it turned out to be false because they have zero confidence in the president of the United States, absolutely none. And the only way he can function is with a Jewish donor leading him around by the nose. And he has proven that that is not the case. Time and time again, but they continue to run with the narrative. So this was Ian Carroll's prediction. He hosted, by the way, for Candace here recently on his show. And I watched 15 minutes of it, and it was all of it was Jews, 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 Israel, 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 Israel. And then you got to turn it off because your brain will rot if you listen to that stuff for too long. It's too much. So Candace decided to take a little time off after, I guess she's getting hit with a lawsuit from Josh Hammer because this is the clip I'm going to play. This is how she referred to Josh Hammer, who my understanding is, I believe he's a Jewish guy. Correct me if I'm wrong, but here you go.
You have to be someone that is, or maybe rather someone that is possessed by something that is less than human, subhuman, to do that. There's no humanity in you. That is why I named Josh Hammer. I believe he is a deeply disturbed man. Filth. Okay? Absolute filth. I don't understand it. I can't comprehend it. Whatever that is that lives in him does not live in me. There's no truth in him. Obviously, there's no truth in Josh Hammer. I know we won't get answers from you, but let me promise you that if I get a text message to the effect that you were somehow involved in him feeling anxiety the day before, if you did something that gave him anxiety in that way, I will release it instantly. There will be no place that you can hide.
Funny thing, she says this frequently, and I've highlighted this on this show, that she says that, and yet nothing ever transpires. Those receipts just, I guess they got lost in her console of her Escalade or whatever it is that she drives. Lost in the console of her Range Rover. Those receipts, she never seems to produce them. Not anymore. She used to. Back when she was legitimate. And I would say after she started her doxing website, Social Autopsy. I don't know if you guys, so one of you all in the comments actually told me about that. I went and looked at it. And in 2016, Candace Owens was running a doxing website. She tried to get it off the ground, but because it was entirely geared to dox people, there was no protections to prevent them from doxing even minors. It wound up getting shut down. But that was her motivation back in 2016. Not even 10 years ago. She went from doxing people to becoming the darling of the conservative movement to now being a divisive figure who absolutely hates. I won't say absolutely hates. I can't say that. But she's going after Donald Trump. Let's play this video here real quick. Thank you guys for the comments. I appreciate it. If you're new here, in case you're just hopping on board, hit that subscribe button, like button, and the notification bell. Here we go.
Trump wants a Nobel Peace Prize, by the way.
Oop.
For the planned... Trump wants a Nobel Peace Prize, by the way, for the planned ethnic cleansing so that they could profit on the land and turn it into a beach town. So let me say this. This is our never again, okay? This is a Holocaust. A Holocaust just happened. A real Holocaust just happened.
I highlighted this last night on the Braver Than the Rest podcast that she says a Holocaust just happened, a real Holocaust. She's firmly ensconced, along with her and Ian Carroll, with this, the Holocaust is a myth sort of conspiracy. So she said, this was an actual Holocaust. The one where tens of thousands of people out of millions of people were killed in an active war zone where, yes, it was leveled. A lot of Gaza was leveled. Palestine, Gaza, because Gaza is an area inside of Palestine. Anyway, yeah, a lot of it was leveled. Yep, because they were blowing up buildings instead of sending troops into booby-trapped buildings. They had people hiding under, the tunnel network, hundreds of miles of tunnels under the place. Yeah, okay, they did. They leveled it. Yep, it was bad. But that's no Holocaust by any stretch of the imagination.
You'll never forget this. You need to tell your children what happened in Gaza. You need to tell them exactly who did it, exactly whose families were involved in this. And when you hear in the future somebody tell you, like, we're going to Gaza Beach for a vacation, you need to look at them like they are the absolute vermin of our society, because they are. They are. Their children will be cursed, okay? You go and you play in the sand where you know that your forefathers planned to mass murder children, you will be cursed. Every person who steps foot on that, every family that is set to inherit what they did, they will be cursed. Your children's children will be cursed.
This speaks more like sounds more like witchcraft than it does. I mean,
Gaza belongs to nobody but the Palestinians. So when you begin to move the Israelis in there, and when the Trump hotel gets built on there, I caution the rest of the world to stay far away from that cursed land, because something is coming. You can't commit that much evil in broad daylight and not think it's going to come back to haunt you.
wow. I'm sorry, but that doesn't speak like a Christian in any stretch of the imagination. But she's also making a lot of inferences there that are, I mean, not substantiated by fact. Let's just be honest. She's saying that they're going to build a Trump hotel. Trump joked about it, that this should be a beautiful place. This was however long ago it was. I don't know, maybe a year ago. You guys can correct me. It might have been earlier this year. I don't know. I feel like we've been in the Trump presidency for 3 years and we're still so early. But nonetheless, Trump made a joke about it, that, oh, it's this beautiful place. They've got beaches and that should be, we should have a Trump tower there. And she's saying that that's what they're actually going to do. And people take it as the gospel. And they say, yeah, Candace said, I don't know. In fact, I was at a work thing, just traveling for a work thing. And some guys were talking about all this. This was I guess it was a week, maybe 2 weeks ago. And some of these guys were talking about it. And they said, well, did you hear what Candace said? Did you hear what Candace said? Did you hear what Candace said? And I held my tongue because I was there in a professional setting and I wasn't going to, make my opinions. I don't talk politics when I'm at work. But they were just following along like just these lemmings who just couldn't. They were hanging on every single word that she said. And in the back of my mind, I was like, do you guys not realize how much nonsense she has been spewing over the past, ever since Charlie Kirk, ever since he was assassinated, how much nonsense she has been spewing? So let's see. I just lost my place. Whoa. Here we go. So now, when it comes back to the Charlie Kirk thing, I have to highlight this one as well. Let's see. We're now looking for... So this is something that Candace said. Here, let me play this really quick.
No one else is telling us anything or showing us anything. And I think they were going to say, or the other option, like it completely took his neck out. We wouldn't have been any wiser. But then I watched it, and the thing that jumped out at me was that not only did the bullet not pierce through, that there wasn't a single dot of blood on Charlie's bleach white shirt until he falls out of frame and onto the ground. I think we accidentally ruined what they were going to try to do to frame this. I think they wanted this to be a 30-06 narrative. And now they're going to have a lot of difficulty getting that through a courtroom. They panicked. They tried to explain it away. They're saying that it's a miracle. I don't think it is. It obviously was not a miracle. I think it is likely that what we should be looking for are two people that had weapons that day.
Okay. And look, there was a video in her defense, which you won't hear me say that very often. In her defense, there was a guy seen running away holding a pistol. Now, they're also in Utah. So, there were concealed carry individuals out there. They got people that had their CCP that are carrying, and this was a shooting environment. Could the guy have drawn the gun? Yes, absolutely. However, she's now saying that, it's two shooters. And people take that, people like this dude. And this guy drives me bonkers because he's one that gets a lot of traction. He's one of hundreds of thousands, if not millions, that are reposting this stuff. And they say, well, Candace said it. I don't think for myself. I just listened to what Candace says. So we're looking for two shooters, one in the crowd and one with a rifle. Everybody now, internet sleuths, Candace said something. Let's jump to. She hadn't shown any proof of this. She has no receipts for that. She says, I think that this is what I believe. This is my intuition, It came to me in a dream. You guys saw that it came to me in a dream that Charlie Kirk was double-crossed or that he was betrayed by Turning Point USA. And so here we go. Candace claimed in that same one, this is from The Quartering, Jeremy from The Quartering, also another great account. He said, Candace Owens claims with 100% certainty that Charlie Kirk was not killed by Taylor Robinson or a 30-06 rifle. In fact, she claims with 100% certainty that it wasn't a rifle at all. How does she know this? Because it wasn't specifically called out on the death certificate. And then when you do an AI check, no, a death certificate does not typically name the specific gun caliber. Look, Kash Patel came out in a recent, I should have pulled up that clip, but just take my word for it. He came out in a recent interview and said, yeah, we are tracking down all the potential internet accomplices, all the people who were foreshadowing this on the internet. We're looking at every possible angle. And while I maintain a pretty staunch skepticism for the federal government, because that's what the founding fathers did. That's why they drafted our Constitution the way they did. We should always be skeptical of a powerful federal government. I also believe that with this election came some pretty drastic changes, and I wanted to see some of the faith and confidence restored in those institutions. So I'm taking, Kash Patel. Do I have faith in Kash Patel? A bit, yeah. Do I have faith and confidence in Dan Bongino? Yeah, I kind of do. Well, Alex Jones has come out in his interview with Tucker Carlson and was attacking the two of them, saying that Kash Patel is compromised and Dan Bongino is an emotional little girl. Okay, I know I told you at the top of the show that I think he's doing everything in that generally Alex Jones has pure motives. But why say that if you have no evidence or you have no, show me some proof that that's the case. We're also in the middle of, as I've said, we're in the middle of the dadgum court trial. Let this process take place. We can poke holes in the prosecution. We can poke holes in the defense. This is going to be televised. It's in Utah, but some of these knuckleheads like Candace and Ian Carroll, and in this instance, Alex Jones and other people, they're just they can't let it be. They just can't let it be. So her evidence, the whole point of that rant was that her evidence was, they didn't include the caliber of the rifle. Well, they never do. It's entirely atypical for them to do that. Come on. Let's see. I'm losing my place here. Here's the next piece of this. So even with, I'm sorry I'm bouncing around here, guys. I've been on the road for 2 weeks. I'm finally getting to live stream, and I'm absolutely jacked up here. This is in her response to Donald Trump and the Nobel Peace Prize. Let's listen to what the mainstream media had to say about this. Of all people, the mainstream media.
Looks like President Trump has actually pulled off something here that many presidents before him have failed to do.
Just need to underscore what an enormous moment this is for so many people in this region, for the people of Gaza who have endured 2 years of war, for the families of these 48 remaining hostages who have endured 2 years of absolute agony. This is a watershed moment.
We've heard it again and again from a number of people today, really giving credit to President Trump for getting this deal over the finish line. What are you hearing from your sources with regard to President Trump's role in getting both parties to sign off on at least the first phase of this peace plan?
Well, certainly this is an enormous moment for the world, but also for this administration, a big win for the president who has been very personally involved in this, Lindsay.
Is a major accomplishment for President Trump, something that he's been really trying to work toward. There's been a lot of critics and questioning of whether or not he could pull off sort of negotiating and working to try to get all these sides together. Of course, there were a lot of nations involved. So this is, of course, not just a victory for President Trump, but really a number of Arab nations, Hamas, and of course, Israel. But this is really huge news, and the president, of course, announcing it online.
So what do you make of what the president has said in his...
This is the thing. Candace Owens can't get on board with the fact that Donald Trump got this done because it doesn't play into the narrative that this was going to be the entire ethnic cleansing of Gaza, which is obviously not the case. That this peace deal happened regardless of, if she believes that Bibi Netanyahu wanted the whole place to be completely wiped clean of every Palestinian that ever existed there. Obviously, that didn't happen. In the midst of this whole war, the Palestinian population has still been increasing. Interesting how that's an odd genocide to be taking place, odd ethnic cleansing for something like that. But Donald Trump was, kind of, I guess, clapping back at Bibi Netanyahu and other people saying, hey, stop being so, wasn't he said, stop being so effing emotional about this? I mean, but no, it doesn't play into the narrative if this is the case. If there's peace in the Middle East, it doesn't play into the narrative, says Candace Owens. Does anybody not see how it's this weird people on the left? I mean, this is how I would describe it. It's these people on the left that worked their way back over towards the right, I believe now, because it was good for their careers. And now they've started to divert back towards the left. That's the Candace Owens individuals, people like her, that, people that like the Tate brothers. I don't know exactly where they stood politically before this, but they've glommed onto this because you've got a Muslim guy who absolutely hates Jews and Israel. I mean, his religion says that they have to be wiped off the face of the earth. You've got those people who glommed onto the right, and now they're diverging back away. It is shredding, absolutely shredding the conservative movement. Even MTG, who was this MAGA, and now, no, I'm not beholden to Donald Trump. I don't know Donald Trump a dadgum thing. I don't have to support Donald Trump. It's not saying that you can't disagree with him by any stretch of the imagination, but for somebody who, in fact, let me pull up some of the clips of her. Let me pull it up here. Here we go. This is one example. I've got a dozen videos here. I'm not going to play a dozen videos. But this was all of her campaign. Her campaign was this. I unequivocally...
Let me tell you this one. I am solidly supporting Donald J. Trump for president in 2024. And I'll tell you why. I would give anything for mean tweets right now. Anything for mean tweets. Because here's what I know they come with. They come with world peace. That's something we had under President Trump. They come with secure, strong borders and a border wall that will be finished high, finished long, and will be safe for America. Those mean tweets also come with supporting law enforcement and low crime. That's something we need to have back. And those mean tweets come from one of the most successful businessmen I've ever known in my life.
So this was part of her thing, right? It was strong borders, the deportation stuff when it comes to, law enforcement, law and order, Got it. She's changed her tune. She shifted her tune. Here you go. Here's MTG recently on what she thinks about
conservative.
Oopsie, here we go.
And as a business owner in the construction industry, and as a realist, I can say we have to do something about labor, and that needs to be a smarter plan than just rounding up every single person and deporting them just like that. Right. So, and I'm going to get pushback on that, but I'm just living in reality from here on out.
Yeah.
And if anybody's mad at me for saying the truth, then I'm sorry.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, ladies and gentlemen, our next president. Sorry, JD Vance.
That's not what we wanted. We wanted the people who are here illegally to be gone. I'm for legal immigration. I'm absolutely for legal immigration. But because I'm in the construction industry, I don't know. Maybe I ought to change. Maybe we ought to rethink this labor stuff, right? She might be able to find some common ground with Bernie Sanders. You see what I'm saying? This is these people glommed on to a successful movement, and then they started to shift themselves away. And I'm kind of worried about who we're choosing as some of the role models in our movement. There's a lot of folks like, people will hate me for this one, but I'm not too worried about it. Myron Gaines from Fresh and Fit. We've got this masculinity crisis in America, so who do we turn to? We start turning to the loudest voices in the room, people like the Tate brothers, Myron Gaines. And Myron Gaines, this is a recent tweet that's been all over the internet, but he said, yeah, we like Hitler. No one gives an F what you woke Jews think anymore. Bro was a revolutionary leader and saved Germans. The Jews declared war on Germany first. Ali, can Israel deny a genocide with 4K? If Israel can deny a genocide with 4K video proof, I'm questioning everything you guys have said about the painter talking about Adolf Hitler during World War II. So this is the guy young people are going to now to get their version of masculinity. This guy, who changed his name, by the way, the guy on the right, in case you were wondering, I mean, Dinesh D'Souza said it best. Look, this was this was great. He said, "I note with some dismay that I cannot easily tell if this guy is part of the Ilhan Mamdani gang on the left or the Tucker Candace gang on the right. It's like Orwell says in Animal Farm, in the end, the pigs and the humans are indistinguishable." Yeah, you are right. Myron is beyond cringe, Junior. I just saw that comment. So we've chosen, the darlings of the right that in some cases, admittedly, when they first came on board and they said the right thing without looking deep at the very surface level, I would say, oh yeah, I kind of like that message. That's good. We need, yes, more masculinity. That's a great thing. That's a fantastic thing. And then you get crap like that I just showed you. And people get on board with it because it's so much easier. And whether it's Tucker or Dave Smith or Myron Gaines or any of these individuals, they all give you the problems, but they can enumerate the problems in crystal clear detail. Here's all the problems as I see it. But what are the solutions? Tucker doesn't give solutions, by the way. Dave Smith says that he's given solutions to the problem in Israel. Here, I'll play one from Dave Smith. This is the interview I was telling you about with him and Coleman Hughes. He can give you 100% of the problems, but does he ever give you any solutions? Well, when you ask for solutions, it's, well, I'm just a comedian. What do I know? Here, let's listen to this. This is, again, go check it out. Coleman Hughes and Dave Smith, that debate on YouTube, 3 hours of, if you're interested in the Israel-Palestine debate, it is remarkably good.
Project of Israel, entire project of a bunch of Eastern Europeans deciding that they wanted to go create a state in land where Arabs were already living. When it came into fruition, resulted in hundreds of thousands of them being expelled from where they were living. After the 6-Day War, they were occupied.
I don't think that's an intellectually honest way of describing the birth of Israel.
I think it's factually correct way of describing it.
It's very easy to paint a dishonest picture by leaving out a lot of facts.
Okay.
This is why we have the phrase lie of omission. If you just start the story at the ending and say, and as you did, as the end result, 750,000 Palestinians were pushed out. Well, what happened? Palestinians started a civil war in Mandate Palestine, and then 5 Arab countries all at once invaded Israel in a war of aggression. Those decisions didn't need to be made. They're pretty relevant context. You don't really understand the last scene of the movie without the first, so I think that's important.
You go, why are they attacking Israel and not Egypt? It's like, because there's like a long history here, man, and they're really pissed off about this.
Hold on. And I think this is it's worth actually dwelling on this because what you didn't emphasize in your story is that Egypt obviously occupied Gaza for 19 years, and Egypt has every single bit of harsh blockade since 2007. In fact, worse, because when they discovered smuggling tunnels underneath the Gaza border, they pumped them with poison gas and sewage and killed Palestinians as a result. Now, Egypt does all of that, and Hamas can't spare a single rocket. And this is practically a science experiment for understanding what Hamas actually cares about. It is entirely about the humiliation of having a Jewish state on that land, not about the occupation, not about not having a country.
It's devolved to the tragic level where Hamas is basically a death cult. And yeah, it's a grudge. They're trying to get back at the Israelis any way they can, for the most part. Yeah, yes, essentially, I do think that's right.
Yeah, I do think that's right. Okay, well, this is mind-numbing to me. It really is mind-numbing that Coleman Hughes prepared for this so well. You've got to watch. I will say it again and again, guys. Go watch that debate. Get some popcorn Put on some sweatpants and sit and watch it because it's a long one. It goes into excruciating detail. But the history behind all of that stuff matters. The history behind the establishment of Israel and the conflict with the people that are around them, the ideologies that permeate all of those societies around them, and what that does to the nation of Israel. And I didn't want to make this a live stream about Israel, but we just concluded the conflict. And is this conflict going to continue in the future? I believe that it will. Can there ever be an everlasting peace? No, I don't think there can, because the ideologies that I guess Dave Smith maybe understands. He said there at the end of that interview that he kind of understood it. Candace Owens supports it. She recently said that quoting the Quran, talking about the true God, which is an absolute falsehood. That cannot be the case. But nonetheless, these, can there ever be an everlasting peace between Israel and all the people around them? I don't think there can. As long as there's Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, you're talking about millennia-long grudge matches going on against the Jewish people. And he started off the whole thing talking about, a bunch of European people. And it forced me to go into a deep dive, because the average person is going to say, oh, that's right. I've heard people say that the Ashkenazis are mostly European descent. And so and I'll take that one little piece of information and say that all the Jews in Israel aren't actual Jews, the actual Jews from the Bible. So you can find that this has been studied, but the average person doesn't. So they take it, the snippet, it supports the negative narrative that all those people on that screen are pitching, the one that I showed you before, which is, here we go, let's pull up our graphic again. The same one that all those people pitch. They're going to these individuals to get solid information, and they deliver speculation from obscure individuals that don't have any evidence backing up their claims, but it sounds good and it fits the narrative, and then the people listen. That's why I was going to name this whole video as that Candace is trying to start a cult. That's what I was like, is she just trying to, is this what it is? This is the cult mentality. She says, I need a cult. I'm bored. I've made so much money in all my life. My husband's worth $250 million. I got nothing better to do because I got a nanny taking care of the kids. How about I start a cult? I mean, but I didn't go with that one because that was a little too inflammatory. But you guys get my point, right? So here I go into a deep dive about all the people that have been dug up, the DNA that's been exhumed from archaeology all around the Middle East and all around Israel, and how they've traced the lineage of people, and how there are entire organizations that trace the Jewish lineage, and how at the end of the day, everything that they said was nonsense. That no legitimate person argues that the Jews in Israel aren't the Jews of the Bible. But Candace Owens does, and people say, oh, that sounds about right. That sounds about right. By the way, the Babylon Bee, they said with Israel's withdrawal, Hamas finally able to conduct public executions in peace. And if you haven't watched the videos, I was talking to a guy I was working with the other day. I said, look, I know violence is a hard thing to watch, but we can soften violence in our head. And on X, you can go and watch it. If you want to understand, I've seen human depravity in my time in the military. I saw the depth of human depravity in some pretty aggressive ways. When you see it, it's different than thinking about it, because your mind in this cushy world that we live in softens some of it. But I watched it right here. These executions and others on X, the video's out there. It gives you a different perspective, that the ideology of the people driving that movement that Candace Owens is stumping for is a level of evil that most people can't comprehend. That's all I'm saying. And the last thing I'm going to say, and then I'm going to get to some comments, because I've been ranting now for 45 minutes, and I haven't even gotten through all of my stuff. I haven't even gotten through all of it. This is what I do, guys. So if you're new here, be sure to hit the subscribe button. I appreciate all you guys that have hit the like button, but hit that the notification bell. I guess you're supposed to say smash it. I don't say that. Let's play, let's see, this last one. This was part of her narrative that, let's see. Here we go. ... Thank you for your patience as you wait on me.
It's never too late to say Kanye was right. Never too late. And I'd like to say that Kanye was right. It's behavior. It's how they treat people. It's statements like that, like just pretending like we're just making things better when we do an ethnic cleansing that was pre-planned. We're just better. We should get a peace prize. It's coming to an end. You can feel it, like I said, unless they've got a plan, and maybe they do, to kill 7 billion people. Our memory will not allow them to just move along from what happened here, a true evil. Anyways, before I get to some of your comments, I see that we are almost up on an hour. Throw to some more of our sponsors.
Oh, there we go. They want to kill 7 billion people. Now let's sell some t-shirts, or let's sell, I don't know, VPN service or whatever it is she was selling. The seamless move from the Jews have a plan to kill 7 billion people to, all right, let me sell you something now that I've got you hooked. This is why it's such a grift. Look, it's a grift, and it's driving me nuts. There's legitimate things going on in this world, and I'm going to start, every time I do these Candace videos, I'm going to smatter in some legitimate stuff here, but like some things that are actually going on in the world. It's just infuriating because so many people, like I say, are biting off on it. Let me get to comments. I got to talk to you guys. That's why I'm here at the end of the day, to give you data, get your comments, and thank you for all the comments. Thank you for the likes. I appreciate it. Okay, so let's see. I'm no longer Catholic, but I watch space. Most of my family is still Catholic. Thanks for coming back, Jennifer and Chris Hayes. Oh, yeah, we got several people returning. Tracy, thanks for coming back. Here we go. We'll post that one up. I think that I do believe in certain possessions of people, and I feel like that's what this is. It's the evils in our own minds can overtake us. Anybody's susceptible to it, but I think when you add the level of fame that she has, the level of money that she has, the influence that she has, and whatever ideology is driving her utterances, that in a whole. And I always tell people this to, in my opinion, you guys let me know what you think, but follow somebody's ideology all the way to its end. In my ideology, I'm a Christian. I'm a Protestant Christian. You follow mine all the way to the end. People convert to Christ. I'm sad for the people who don't. The Palestinians live in peace, free of Hamas, but I do not stump for, I do not support, and I, in fact, vocally speak out against Hamas. I speak out against Islam because I do believe that it is not a religion of peace as it has been pitched to us, but I'm still going to love the people who practice it. There's certain ways that you follow this, that Israel still exists as a nation. And when you follow people on Candace's side of things, there's only one end, and that is you support all of the Muslim countries because they are morally superior to Israel. What's the end result of that? Well, Israel is gone. So these are arguments of the left, by the way. This is the same tactics that the left uses. The only end state for her argument is that Israel gets wiped off the face of the earth. Okay, Candace says, said the Bible-believing Christians and Jews are fraud. Oh, yes. Hey, Tracy, I'm glad you brought this one up. So this is actually Nick Fuentes said something about this. Listen to what he said. This was about Protestants, so of which I am one. I'm glad you mentioned that. Thank you, because this plays right into your comment. So Nick Fuentes came out and said all Protestants are heretics. Here we go. Play this. Let's play this one here. It's Nick Fuentes. I don't know what the language is. I can't remember.
Christians is different? If we actively think and behave as Christians, we're on the right track and going to heaven, right?
Nope. If you're not Catholic, you're going to hell. And I do believe something completely different. Catholics are not the same as Protestants. Catholics are Christians. Protestants are heretics. And no, I don't. That's not a Catholic doctrine. When you say, well, for all Christians, we're on the right track. That's not a Catholic belief. That's a Protestant belief. It is a Protestant belief that every sincere person is going to heaven.
No, that's not what we say, by the way. So he's starting to come from an entirely false premise that, if you're a good person, you'll go to heaven. That's not what Protestantism is. The only way to get to heaven is accepting Jesus Christ, period. That's it. You can be a Catholic and say, I went to Mass. Okay, that and $5 will get you a cup of coffee. But have you accepted Jesus Christ? Just living a good life doesn't get you into heaven. We don't believe that. And yet, so he's pitching a false theology about Protestantism, a false narrative about Protestantism.
Catholics believe that you have to confess your sins. Catholics believe that you have to be a part of the church that Christ founded, You have to be in a state of grace. You have to, and ultimately we believe it's a mystery who is saved and who isn't saved. But to increase your chances of getting into heaven, you have to be absolved of your sins.
Here's the other piece of this that, by the way, I do not agree with, having intermediaries between you and Christ. It is not biblical for that to be the case. It's not biblically necessary. You can do that. We're to confess our sins one to another, so amongst the body of Christ. But good gracious, this guy is saying, nope, if you're a Catholic, you're a heretic. Or I'm sorry, if you're a Protestant, you're a heretic. You're going to hell. It's a pretty strong stance to take. And aside from that, it's utter nonsense. Let me get back to the comments here. Let's see. Golly, lots of comments. Thank you guys. This is her peak. This is her peak just before her fall. There you go. I think that is a valid point. It's almost like the crazy celebrities, when the celebrities go on a bender and they start saying, it's like Britney Spears. You see the Britney Spears dancing videos where she's dancing with a kitchen knife or something like that. It's like she's been infected with something. I don't know what it is. Evil spirits, demons, who knows what. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Here's another one here that she believes that Bibi planned October 7th. Now, Charlie Kirk had a legitimate question. Was there a stand down order given before October 7th? It's a question that still hasn't been answered. Does it seem suspicious? Yeah, it's a little weird that that's the case. But they say that he's been supporting Hamas, that he's the one who supplanted Hamas. Let's go back a minute to what Hamas actually did. Because this is a great point, Tracy. Thank you for bringing it up. That Israel has been pumping supplies into Gaza, into Palestine, for the people of Palestine in that territory. They take that and they turn around and sell it to the people. The Hamas does. Hamas jacks up the prices. They take that to go buy their penthouses in Qatar, to buy their private planes. The people that are representing Gaza don't even live in Gaza. They don't live in Palestine. They live in Qatar. They fly private. They are worth billions, literally billions with a B of dollars. And they're getting money from not just selling stuff back to their own people who they're supposed to be supporting. Yeah, they get money from Egypt. They get money from Qatar. They get money from all over the Middle East. It's kind of like all the, these are disruptive operations for effective actions. We've been effective. Our intel community has been relatively effective against Muslim extremists. Israel has been very effective against Muslim extremists. Mossad, who I still believe is a corrupted intel agency, but just like our CIA. However, does that mean they haven't been effective? Yeah, they've been pretty effective. But you disrupt it by pumping money into things like the Houthis, into Hezbollah, into Hamas. It's been the Taliban. It's been all these radical organizations. So it's good. It's good for their PR to have a common enemy out there all the time. Let's see. I think business owners should be fired for hiring. There you go, Jennifer. Yeah, I think it is still federally illegal to do that. You saw the cop. This was let's see. I think it was today that I saw this article that a police officer in, I forget the city and state, but he was an active police officer from like Albania or something like that. And he was carrying a gun, not a legal citizen, so he's not allowed to have a firearm, but he was carrying one on duty. And ICE came, arrested him, and deported the guy. I was like, yeah, there you go. Kudos. Well done. So yeah, no, you shouldn't be able to hire illegals. MTG wants them because it's good for business, apparently. Let's see. Dude is yeah. Myron is beyond cringe. Well, he is, yes. So this is, it's him and Pearl Davis and other people that have got on board look, you can attack the modern version of feminism, what it's become. Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. I attack it all the time. But they pick the easy targets. They go after them and, again, follow Myron's instinct. What is it? Your wife locked in the corner of the house like Handmaid's Tale or something silly like that. I'm not saying that's his way, but give me a prescription. Give me your version of a successful relationship. I haven't heard him give me anything that is a tenable way to have a relationship, an actual relationship, and I'm not even 100% certain that he has one. You guys can let me know down in the comments. Let's see. Dave is a totally failed comedian turned political talking head. Now that's cringe. Yeah, the comedian political commentator thing is, it's getting tiring. It really is. Theo Von did it. I love Theo Von. Theo Von's hilarious. I think he's a funny guy, but just look, you're a comedian. I get it. Wait until the dust settles and crack some jokes about it. That's fine, but I'm not. Why in the world are we going to all these comedians for political commentary? Joe Rogan is the best. If you're going to talk to anybody or listen to anybody, go to Joe Rogan, because Joe Rogan, he's not always asserting things. Occasionally he does, but he's bringing on multiple personalities, multiple positions to listen to them and say, well, you make an argument about this. Explain that to me. Then he'll bring on somebody who's in the opposition. Explain that to me. And then he asks all the right questions. And by and large, we are the ones that get to make those decisions about what we believe. Dave Smith is, yeah, you know what? I'm a Jewish guy who doesn't like Jews, self-hating Jew, which is fine. He's more than welcome to. But then he tries to have a legitimate debate with Coleman Hughes and gets absolutely wrecked. It was worth it. Let's see. How does she still have monetized platform sponsor? This is a great point. Jennifer, well done here. Great point. If Israel was so controlling, like she says, how the heck does she still have a monetized platform and sponsors my your channel was demonetized for supporting a pastor that stayed open during COVID. You need to appeal that one, Jennifer. I bet now. So I've been, for the past year, I've been tirelessly making YouTube content, and I've been in YouTube jail. All of a sudden, it has opened up a bit. It's been great. I'm very, very happy. But I have a year's worth of content that basically got zero traction. And now all of a sudden, it's starting to go back. My videos are getting several thousand views. I'm very thankful for it. But yes, this is the argument people make, that they control the media, that they control the social media, that they control Hollywood, what is Hollywood pushing? What is the media pushing? What are all these people pushing? They're pushing against Israel. That, on the very surface, is a nonsense argument for these people to make, like her. Yeah. They control everything, and yet all the messaging is against us. You get absolutely. I made a video, golly, when was it? It might have been, I don't remember. I can't remember when it was. It was a while back. I made a video, and it got absolutely bashed because it was a pro-Israel video. And it was, I was making the argument, not that I'm a staunch Israel can do no wrong type person. I will never be that. I will never be that for any country, period. But it was saying that, yes, Hamas is bad. Israel versus Hamas, Israel is better than Hamas. Yes, the Palestinians are in a difficult situation, But because it wasn't a staunchly anti-Israel video, it got absolutely crushed. It was wild. Let's see. More like Candy U, Riz. Let's see. Tracy, let's see, sacrament and good works based on tradition. Yes. See, that was funny. The way you said that. Okay, I've got to put this up. You said they believe sacraments and W9. Oh, that's funny. I take it you're not a huge fan of Catholicism. Let's see. Green face. This channel is lame, Arthur. Well, that's fine, Arthur. You are not bound to watch this channel. Oh, that's funny. We've had plenty of people on here making comments. All right. So that got me through the comments, and we have come upon the hour. If anybody else has anything, I can certainly hang on here for a little bit longer. I appreciate all the commentary. I appreciate all the comments. You guys are fantastic. If you're new here, be sure to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video is released. I'm going to be on again tomorrow, so be sure to join me. And I appreciate all your guys' support. This is fantastic. Let's see. Any more comments? Let's see. Tracy, great point. She never blinks, and that's a... Oh. That's just funny. Okay, I'm sorry. That's kind of funny. Tracy in the comments made something. Junior said, "Great point. She never blinks. That's the sign of a cokehead." She's not a cokehead. She's not. I just think that she's wildly convinced of her own, whatever. I don't know, her own delusions. Let's just call it that. Okay, guys, here we are, 1 hour down. Thank you, guys. God bless you. God bless America. And I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.